And welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, talking with Cathy Polan. She is the president of the Ontario Real Estate Association. Now, Cathy, of course, one of the big issues in politics and in life these days is housing affordability. It's still a huge issue. So I know politicians love to talk about increasing supply. I guess my first question is why hasn't that happened?
Well, I think there's been a lot of constraints with tariffs and, the interest rates. It's hard for builders to go out there. I will say development charges are a huge issue. And, some communities say, hey, we've reduced our development charges by 50%, but when they're already 190, reducing it by 50 just may bring you on level with other municipalities in the area.
Mm.
I think development charges has been used as a savings plan for most municipalities. I think they've put them in reserves. I don't think they've used them effectively. And I think we need to ask that to change.
That's really interesting about the development charges. What other policies need to be pursued to increase supply, do you think?
Well, first, I think AREA put out a rental housing report. I think we have to get the rental housing in the right size, as I've said before. And our report actually has 20 recommendations for the government to implement. They're not going to implement them all. Let's be honest. But if they do take some of those implementations and put them in place, our rental market may be a safer place for people to invest in. Right now, the average mom and pop don't want to be a part of the rental market. So they are now selling their inventory, which means there's less rentals on the market. And the reason they're doing that is they don't think that the landlord tenant board is effective. They take too
Gotcha.
long to come to terms with things that are happening. Plus, we used to do a lot of back hallway deals. We met in person, and the tenant and the landlord would come to a deal that would reduce the backlog on the landlord tenant board itself. And this was effective. We need to have options. It has to be hybrid, can no longer solely be video. And the other reason is some tenants don't even have the money for internet. So they have to go find a public space that is safe for them to be on board to have this mediation or
Mm.
hearing in front of the landlord tenant board. So I think understanding the rental market is a first big step in getting to the next stop.
So really what you're saying is that in terms of rentals, which is again a key, as you mentioned, a key component of our housing market for a lot of people, there are constraints on landlords, and the whole, it sounds like the whole mechanism to deal with landlord and tenant issues in Ontario, province of Ontario, is not really working right now, and that means that there's a reduced supply. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And it's not just for landlords. I'll give you an example. A tenant,
Sure.
if they have a problem with the landlord, they have to pay a fee to take that to the landlord tenant board. Some of these people don't even have the money to do that fee. So they have to live in the conditions that the
Mm.
landlord has set. That's not fair either. I think there has to be a mechanism that that money is either returned or they don't pay it until the decision is against them and in favor of the landlord. There has to be a compromise there. We have bad landlords, we have bad tenants, we have good landlords, and we have good tenants. And
Mm.
I think we need to acknowledge that it's not always one party or the other.
Do you see any hope for increased supply for rentals in this market?
Well, I think the Canada Build Homes is an opportunity at the federal level to make an impact. I believe they're looking at Downsview in the Toronto area.
Right.
Um, and I think it will be interesting to see how many they're able to build in that area and the impact that they'll have. They're looking at 5 different areas right now. I think it's an opportunity for the federal government to shine in this incident because we need to have homes. Uh, Premier Ford has done everything in his power to try to get these homes built, I feel. He's listened to AREA. He's implemented some of our pro home ownership policies. And I think he's trying, but I think it's very hard when you've got development charges that are so out of reach You've got interest rates on the builders, like it's a business.
Right, right, and they're struggling to make it work for them, and for the industry, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Kathy, we're
Yeah.
gonna take a brief break again. We'll be back with you for some more questions after these commercial messages.